Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Kodiak Bear. Woo! So yeah, today we are doing everything in life. Today we are watching horror movies. Today we are watching horror movies. Don't ask what I'm doing. I think I might accidentally hit F10 last video because I said I might have to restart everything. And guess what? I do have to restart everything here.
50% off all tees. High fashion,
Okay, good.
Old Navy.
I didn't know that. I didn't know. But whatever.
Everything we don't want usually gets thrown into the
Alright.
garbage for the local
I'll
sanitation
see
workers,
you later,
or as we like to call them,
because I'll
garbage
be
men to
going
pick up.
quiet.
Usually, whatever you have stuffed in trash cans or bags gets dumped into a truck without a second glance,
I
which
won't
is
be
why some
exactly
people
quiet,
feel the
but yeah.
garbage
Alright.
truck could be the best place to get rid of some of the skeletons in their closets.
Oh my god.
Maybe even literally. Garbage men all around the world, as expected, find horrific, disturbing things being dumped into their trucks every day. These are 5 short examples of this with downright creepy backstories. This experience was shared to me by a New York State sanitation worker named Ricky. Ricky had a set group of coworkers on his truck: the driver, Norm, and the other trash collector who would ride on the back of the truck along with Ricky, named Al. Al was always a rough and tough kind of guy. He had the long grayish beard, bald head, stocky build, tattoo-covered arms, and the deep trucker's voice. He was the kind of guy who you wouldn't want to get on their bad side. Long story short, Ricky and Norm were as close with Al as his aggressive and demeaning personality could allow. There really wasn't much fun between the three, and it was mostly a show-up, do-the-work kind of relationship. One particular day, Ricky noticed Al was acting really strange, quieter, noticeably unhappy. When he attempted to approach Al and get him to open up to be friendly, Al responded with a lot of hostility, saying things like, "Mind your own business, I'm not unhappy, focus on the job." Clearly something was going on in his personal life, and he wasn't the type to be open about things, so Ricky just left it alone. Now on the route they were assigned to, the truck passed both Norm and Al's house at some points. On this particular day, when they stopped at Al's house, he told Rick firmly to run down to the next house over and grab the plastic table that was sitting by the curb. Ricky said, "No, I'll just wait until we get over there." In response, Al yelled at him to just do it. Confused and a bit afraid, Ricky conformed and started walking over to the next house. As Ricky picked up the table and started heading back to the truck, after responding to Norm's confused hand motions behind the wheel, Ricky noticed Al hurriedly throwing a bag into the back of the truck. When Ricky threw the table into the truck, he saw the long black bag sitting over the rest of the waste, and imagined the worst. But knowing Al's aggressive and defensive nature, he kept quiet. By the end of the shift, when Al had left, Ricky stopped Norm and told him what happened. The two reported what happened to one of their superiors, and the waste that was dumped from the truck was thoroughly searched. Eventually, they found the black bag that Al had dumped into the truck, and the now squishy red contents that had been oozing from the bag. Robert Calvin was temporarily a garbage man for a city department in Los Angeles one summer because a guy quit. Originally, his job was only to consist of mowing grass and whatnot around town. However, he and his temporary team received a call from the mayor one day, requesting that they go pick up the remaining stuff in an evicted tenant's apartment. The collectors arrived and found that there were clothes everywhere, a bed, some other furniture, and a couch. The place was absolutely disgusting. Along with the clothes, garbage was scattered everywhere, the rugs were stained, there were even holes in the wooden living room floor. When going to help a few guys lift the bed and couch, Robert had noticed empty vials laying around the floor. He told his co-workers to be cautious as he knew there was a possibility of needles having been stuffed in the furniture. After taking a closer look, Robert and his co-workers realized that this guy had shoved dirty needles down his couch and bed in hopes of someone picking it up and getting stabbed. Tucked further beneath the couch cushion was a small crumpled up note, saying, "You're not getting off this easy." What was found in the trash can in the backyard was even more disturbing. filled to the brim was a trash can full of worn-out children's dolls, and in most of the dolls' tiny plastic arms were tiny holes assumed to have come from the needles. It was safe for the workers to assume that the man who had been evicted from the house had his fair share of illegal drugs. A sanitation worker named Sarah shared one of her experiences as a garbage collector with the internet. Sarah explained that while it's not seen on cop shows, police enlist the help of garbage collectors to look for crime scene evidence and collected waste. Near Sarah's trash route is a known meth haven, and from time to time the cops would ask Sarah and her co-workers if they had found certain types of items in the trash, like certain kinds of containers or chemicals. Interestingly, she and her co-workers would also be asked to look for burglary-type objects such as weapons if there were to be a local robbery. On a more notable occasion, Sarah was asked to keep an eye out for cash registers in the trash because robbers could tend to steal entire registers, bring them home, and then toss them in the garbage when they empty them, assuming like everyone else that whatever ends up in the garbage is out of sight and out of mind of anyone. One more disturbing experience, however, was when Sarah and coworkers found a leg stuffed in a garbage bag in somebody's trash can. On that same day after the shift when police were notified, it was discovered that Sarah and her coworkers had picked up more than one body parts. In fact, the body parts had been dumped strategically around town in random houses' trash cans, and they needed to search all of the trash to find the whole body. A Reddit user named Georgie P, who happens to be a garbage man, who has a number of posts relating to sanitation work, shared his story in a Reddit post asking garbage men what was the most disturbing things they found in people's garbage. Georgie works in North Carolina, and he explained that despite what people may think, garbage men are nosy and do like to peek a bit through people's garbage bins before dumping them into the trucks. Well, one particular day when he did that at a corner house in Winterville, North Carolina, he found a white, half-sealed plastic bag, and through the opening up top was a sketchy-looking picture of a young girl. Georgie took the bag out, opened it, and found that there was at least a pound's worth of images of the same young girl, who appeared to be about 13 years old. He called his co-worker over to check it out with him.
No.
Some images were school portraits, but most of the others were a lot creepier. Most of them seemed to have been taken without the girl's knowledge. Some appeared to have been taken through an upstairs window aimed to a house across the street, specifically zoomed into a room with the light on, and with the same young girl getting dressed in her bedroom. It seemed as they went through the pile, the images only got more and more disturbing. Georgie told his coworker to call the police as he continued flipping through the images. The creepiness levels peaked as high as they could go, however, when Georgie held up an image that was taken in a dark room. It became clear what it was very quickly. It was a picture of the little girl sleeping in her bed, taken by somebody standing right above her bed. The owner of the house was home, and he was arrested that same day and possibly charged with stalking of a child pornography, since some of the images captured the young girl while she was nude, and breaking and entering. This last mention on this list is told in first-person point of view by a current sanitation worker named Hugo. I work as a garbage man in Manchester. I've been doing this for 11 years, so I've seen all of the weird shit that gets thrown out. Or at least I thought I did, before this. It was a day like any other. The shift was going as quick as could be expected, and there wasn't a cloud in the sky. The truck emitted its ear-piercing shriek as it came to a stop. The sound I'm beyond used to, which signaled when I needed to hop off the truck and chuck the unwanted waste inside yet another plastic container into the giant pungent truck that has become a part of my life. However, at this one particular house, in this one particular container, was a Lenovo laptop. I picked it up, and it seemed to be in pristine condition, besides the grease and little pieces of food that it had collected from sitting in a garbage can, but rubbing it off with my heavy work shirt, it was about as good as new. I naturally took a look at the house to see if the owner saw me take their laptop, and to my surprise, There was somebody standing by the window behind the partially open curtains. He was kind of peeking at me as if he didn't want me to see him. It was actually quite disturbing. Now I felt weird taking the laptop, so while still holding it, I took the garbage can and dumped it into the truck while pretending to do the same with the laptop. Instead, however, I placed the laptop on the back platform of the truck, returned the plastic pail to the curb, knocked on the side of the truck, and we moved along to the next house. That was where I handed my driver the laptop to hold onto. As I picked up the can at the next house, I noticed the guy from the previous house coming out to check his empty pail, and then turning to me and walking over to me. I returned the favor and met him halfway, and he just cut straight to the chase and asked me if I took his laptop. I felt my heart drop a bit for some reason, and stuttered at first, telling him I threw it in the back of the truck. What he asked me next shocked me. He asked if he could check the back of the truck to look for the laptop. Now I felt really awkward, but recovered by telling him firmly I have no time to play games, we are on a tight schedule. I simply walked back to the truck, dumped the contents of the pail into the truck, and we moved on. Luckily that block ended with that house, and we were able to sail away from that creep. The wind in my face had never felt so good. His reaction to my possibly taking his laptop only made me grow even more curious as to what was on it, which is why I lied and told him I threw it out in the first place. When my shift ended, I took the laptop to my car and drove home. On the way, I couldn't stop staring at that laptop. I just had to know what was on it. I pulled to the side of a deserted road and turned on the laptop, which surprisingly had battery left. The computer loaded up fast, like less than 30 seconds, and there was no password to the account, which was just titled Roy. I was wondering why he would throw this away. My question was answered very quickly. Scattered across the messy desktop were folders on top of folders, all titled very ambiguously. For example, one titled Fun Powder, another titled V288, and another titled Fruit Patch Boys. Inside all of the folders I clicked on were hundreds of videos and pictures of underage porn. I could only open about 4 before I started to feel sick to my stomach. I ended up dialing 911 and reporting this guy for child pornography possession. Now, the guy had pictures of himself on the computer, so I was not digging my own grave here by calling 911. However, as I should have guessed, the guy skipped town. I found a lot of messed up shit during my career, but never anything as bad as this. Maybe this guy would have gotten away with it had he just been smart and tucked the laptop underneath another bag.
Oh. No. No. No.
With police being in the front
swear to
lines
God,
of
if you
investigating
stop
everything out of the
recording, I'm so
ordinary,
upset.
it's no
Okay,
surprise
good.
they'll come
Yes,
across some
it didn't
disturbing
stop
things.
recording.
Some of the
Oh.
findings on this list are weird,
That's
some
amazing.
shocking, and some just disturbing. So,
Okay,
here
so-
are 6 disturbing police discoveries.
I
Number
wonder
6.
how I can see how long I've been
In Glen
recording.
Rose, Texas, neighbors
Oh.
of Tasha Chantel
30
Hatcher
minutes.
noticed her acting odd and
Oh,
immediately notified police. And it's a good thing they did, as the
Yeah.
police found something completely unexpected and horrifying inside of her oven. Now, Tasha and her neighbors lived in a relatively peaceful area. However, one day when some of Tasha's neighbors noticed her acting a bit nervous and blasting music, they knew something was wrong and thought it would be best to get the police to investigate her house.
Okay.
Tasha is a single mother of a 2-year-old girl named Nevaeh. Tasha always seemed like a playful and caring mother, which made this whole situation just more shocking. When the cops arrived, they found Tasha's daughter inside of the oven, which had been turned on. Tasha admitted to willfully doing this, and as a result of her actions, her daughter suffered 2nd and 3rd degree burns and was hospitalized. She has since been put under foster care. Tasha has been charged with serious bodily harm to a child. She is currently being held on a $300,000 bond. Number 5. In 1969, 3 people riding in a 1950 Chevy were reported missing and were never found. Only a year later, 3 teenagers riding in a 1969 Camaro were also reported missing. For more than 45 years, their location had remained a mystery until just recently when all 6 of them were found inside both cars at the bottom of Foss Lake in Oklahoma. Jimmy Williams, Lee Johnson, and Michael Rios went missing while on their way to a football game. This was on November 20th, 1970. The Camaro, belonging to Jimmy Williams, was found at the bottom of Foss Lake by police divers who were actually in the middle of a training exercise. But that wasn't all they found. They also discovered a second car in the lake, which also had 3 bodies inside. The bodies were identified as 69-year-old John Alva Porter, who was the driver, and his friends Nora Duncan and Clebern Hammock. They had been missing for more than 50 years. The circumstances of these deaths are still not fully known, but the police believe foul play to be the most logical explanation. It's believed that it's just too much of a coincidence that 2 nights out so long ago that happened just within a year ended in such an eerily similar fashion. It will likely never be known just what happened all those years ago. Number 4. In December of 2015, Russian officers found 37 unmarked sacks stuffed with sawdust sitting on railway cars. At first glance, the mysterious bags just seemed to contain wood shavings. However, the officers discovered that hidden inside of the bags were hundreds of severed bear parts, which smugglers intended to sell on the black market. Police confiscated 527 bear feet, a bear muzzle, bear gallbladders, and 3 musk deer glands. The body parts were destined for Asia, where they would be used for medicine. In fact, Asia is responsible for the poaching of a lot of animals. They hold beliefs that many animal parts, for example ivory and tusks, can cure diseases such as cancer. A disappointing statistic has shown that bears in the past few years have been becoming a much bigger target to poaching. Number 3. During Halloween night of 2015 in Slingerlands, New York, police discovered that 2 Halloween decorations were not what they seemed. Police were cruising Veeder Road in a rather wealthy area when they coincidentally received a call from a resident on the same road telling them that they saw 2 dead body decorations hanging on their front tree. The creepy part was that they didn't hang anything on their front tree. Police arrived within minutes and saw exactly what the woman was talking about, but upon closer inspection, realized these were not decorations at all, but rather 2 real decomposed bodies. The woman recalled 2 men who were suspiciously walking around out front in her house about an hour earlier, though she couldn't give any worthwhile details about the 2 men. It's unknown if these 2 men the woman mentioned were responsible for this, who these dead bodies belonged to, if and why these 2 men killed them, and why they targeted her house. Number 2. In 2014, there was a Reddit post asking people about their scariest experiences as a police officer. A Redditor whose account has since been deleted replied to the post, explaining a situation he and his partner for the night had encountered. There was a call to inspect an air vent at an elderly woman's house, as she suspected there had been an animal or something up there, as a large part of the vent in the living room was caving down as if something were in there. She had just gotten back from a vacation that day with her daughter to find this. It was a slow night and they were the closest to the house, so they were instructed to check it out. Stepping into the house, they could immediately smell a foul odor filling the air in the house, an odor the old woman said she couldn't smell. The old woman showed the officers the specific air vent where she saw the bulge. The vent cover was very large and old-fashioned. It had 4 big screws that kept the cover on. The smell was most unbearable by this vent. The cops knew something was dead inside of there. They undid the screws and shined a light into the vents. They were disturbed not to see a dead raccoon or something they were expecting, but rather a dead person. They had a hard time dragging the body out as it was stuck in the narrow duct, but they were soon able to get him out and identify him. He was a bald black man, mid-40s, wearing an unzipped black hoodie with a stained undershirt underneath, denim jeans, and brown work boots. He had a knife tightly gripped in his stiff fingers, which the cops assumed was meant to harm the old woman. This duct led to an air vent outside, which is how the man was able to break in the first place. The author of the post said that since the man was apparently stuck in the vent for days in the summer heat, he could have died of a certain number of things, most likely of thirst. Number 1. On September 12, 2015, a disturbed 38-year-old Swedish doctor, whose name has not been revealed, drugged a woman he knew with strawberries he had laced with rohypnol, raped her, and then drove her across state to imprison her inside an underground bunker he had built on his property. The woman continued to endure rape and physical harm for a few days, until September 18th, when the doctor drove her back to her home 350 miles away to collect her belongings. However, the doctor grew nervous when he arrived to the house to discover police had ransacked the place. This made him decide to take her directly to them, to have her inform the authorities that she was okay. Of course, the police knew better and pulled her aside to get the real story out of her. The cops immediately arrested the doctor and searched his home, and what they discovered there proved just how insane this man was. His house contained rubber masks of bearded men and old women, syringes, birth control pills, condoms, the wheelchair he used to carry the woman from her home into his car, and perhaps most disturbingly, wrist and ankle chains attached to the wall. Police speculated by the design of the bunker, with a bathroom and covered courtyard, that the doctor had planned on keeping the woman locked up there for several years. Police also believe that he was planning on doing this for years. He clearly built this bunker for the sole purpose of keeping one or more victims captive. Friends of the doctor were shocked and couldn't believe he would do something like this. He was described as helpful and polite. The exact sentencing for this doctor is unknown, but it's certain he'll be going away for a long time. As a little bonus clip, here's an interesting story. A snorkeler called the emergency services after spotting what he thought were human remains at the bottom of a lake.
Be right back, guys. And I mean it, because I gotta get something. Cinematic. Perfect.
Police sent someone from their diving team to investigate. He took a camera down there to record the remains, and found two bodies sitting upright in plastic garden chairs and appeared to be having a tea party. One of them held this sign that read, "Bernie living the dream in the river." While the figures looked very real from a distance, upon closer inspection the diver realized that they were plastic fakes planted by scuba divers as a gag. If these were real, this would have made for a pretty horrifying find. Feel free to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook, and I will see you in the next one.
I wondered how a bunch of friends could kick back, talk about sports, life.
Welcome back. Today we're looking at 10 of the most disturbing ads ever posted on Craigslist. This first ad was a fake job offer. It was titled "Looking for Someone Young to Clean Out Basement Back Room." The description was, "Hi there. I have a big basement with a big back room with a lot of stuff that needs cleaning. Preferably somebody under the age of 16. I will pay $20 an hour. I have a pool table, TV, and arcade games in the back room. We can have lots of fun together. In fact, you don't even have to work the whole time, if you don't want to. I will be willing to pick you up if you don't have a ride. Please send me an email ASAP. Update: I will only hire people under the age of 16 as I am not willing to pay more." This ad was posted by David Loven, who was arrested for 88 accounts of child molestation. He almost caught a 13-year-old boy with this ad. However, the boy turned around after David reportedly opened the door before he even got to the stoop, as if he were creepily watching and waiting. David was sentenced to life in prison. This next one was called "Baby for Sale." 6 months pregnant, don't want it. willing to trade it for money or drugs. Guaranteed white and don't come at me cheap, serious offers only. In June, a woman posted this ad, offering to trade her unborn child for money or drugs. Police in Atlanta received hundreds of complaints about the ad. Atlanta police took to Facebook to say that the ad is highly disturbing and suspicious, but that no law had been broken yet, and they didn't have enough information to determine whether or not the post was genuine. Looking for a young teen girl to come and clean my house from the hours of 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., Monday to Friday. I pay $15 an hour. You will be in charge of cleaning and dusting furniture, mopping, sweeping, weeding, and feeding the cats. I know it's tough to find a job at such a young age, and you likely don't drive, so I'll be willing to pick you up in the morning. I work 12 p.m. to 8 p.m., so you'll only see me in the morning. I hope you get in contact with me, and it may also be the start of a beautiful friendship. Call, text, or email for more info. The parent of a child who found this ad on Craigslist found it very suspicious, so she reported it to the police. It turned out the poster of this ad was Phil Luna, who had actually already been arrested for another illegal Craigslist ordeal. He was said to have gotten onto a plane to come to Florida in order to meet what he thought was going to be a mother and her 11-year-old daughter, according to a Craigslist ad set up by police. Donate your blood or life to Satan. This disturbing, poorly written ad may seem like something a little kid wrote and posted as a joke. However, it was actually very real. Since the poster foolishly left the address and time of the meeting open for anyone to see, a tip was given to the police, and they busted the little gathering. There were a total of 4 men dressed in black, sexual-looking absurd garments surrounding a pentagram on the ground that was made out of human blood. They were all arrested. Free bike. I have a free bicycle up for pickup. First come, first serve. It's a 2009 model Giant brand mountain bike. I have it leaning on the shed in my backyard, and you're free to come and take it. Just send me a text telling me when you're leaving and when you should be arriving. This ad may seem pretty innocent, but it turned out it was likely a setup. An Imager user who decided to head to the provided address to pick up the bike without informing the poster not only found out that the house looked completely abandoned and there was no bike in the backyard, but he also found a tripwire that ranged from the house to a nearby bush. It was never found out, but this was likely a setup to possibly murder unsuspecting victims and steal their cars. Trading 8-year-old son for meth. You remember in high school when they used to tell you meth addicts would sell their mothers for another hit? There's actually a lot of truth to that. The man who posted this Craigslist ad clearly wasn't aware that the posting could be flagged and reported. Police sent an undercover officer to the designated meeting place and arrested the man after he immediately gave up his son. Free candies, toys, and video games. Hey kids, if you're in the Greenville area, come to my house to get all the free candies, toys, and video games that you want. You'll see a red minivan parked outside. Just ring the bell and you'll be invited into this super exclusive club. No parents allowed. When you ring the bell, just say the password extreme and you're in. Unfortunately, the poster of this ad was never sought after by police. The ad was only flagged enough times and was automatically taken down. This one's really disturbing, as it's likely that if this ad was what everyone should think it was, and this guy was never caught for something else, he may still be trying to find other ways to trap little kids. Free TV. Hello, how are you? I just got a brand new TV for Christmas, and as a result, I'm no longer in need of my current Samsung TV. I have it sitting in my basement. If you would like it, feel free to come by and take it. However, you have to come after the hour of 12 a.m. I'll leave my front door open. Just make sure to shut the front door and come down to the basement. You'll be leaving with a like-new $500 Samsung TV. Now this ad would already scream fake, setup, or death wish as it was. However, the Redditor who shared this ad that he responded to, by the way, said the house was the ugliest, smallest, and sketchiest looking house for miles. The front door was left wide open as the ad said, but there were no lights on inside. The Reddit user obviously left seconds later. Another thing to note is that the ad advertises the TV as a Samsung brand. However, in the picture, you can clearly see that's an LG TV. This one is simply horrifying, as one could only imagine what would have really been waiting in that basement. This ad was posted by Anthony Brinkman. He wanted someone to rape his 11-year-old daughter while he watched. The motive was his own twisted sexual fantasy. Police were made aware of this ad shortly after it went online. Law enforcement officials posed as a woman interested in helping Brinkman fulfill his fantasy. They arranged a meeting with Brinkman at a restaurant in South St. Louis, and he arrived with his daughter. Brinkman was arrested immediately and later admitted to posting the ad, as well as possessing child pornography. In 2014, 34-year-old Sherwin Go was arrested for allegedly posing as a woman to lure underage boys to his house for sex. Sherwin used the Craigslist personal section to post ads seeking sex and led responders to believe he was female. At the time of his arrest, he had been exchanging explicit emails with at least 2 underage males. He was suspected to have made physical contact with one of them. Luckily, the other boy's parents discovered the exchanges and alerted authorities before he could become Sherwin's next victim.
You need a website. Why not do it yourself? With Wix.com, you can create your own stunning website. Tell us who you are and what you do. Then Wix Artificial Design Intelligence learns what you need and creates a stunning website for you. Complete with beautiful images, videos, and text. And you can add even more as you grow. Like your own online booking system, so customers can book appointments right on your website. Want to change your look? Try a different design theme. There are hundreds to choose from. Easily change your images and videos. Play with any layout. Your content will automatically adjust to fit perfectly. With Wix Artificial Design Intelligence, everything just falls into place. Go to Wix.com to create your stunning website today.
10 Mysterious and Disturbing Craigslist Ads Part 2. There's a section on Craigslist called Missed Connections. This section is home to personal advertisements which arise after two people meet but are too shy or otherwise unable to exchange contact details. Like everywhere else on the website, weird things are posted in this section, such as this ad. The ad was posted by an anonymous man who seemed to be stalking a young boy. He said in the ad, "We've met on several occasions. Well, we haven't formally met, but I've seen you. You like to wear that Mets hat a lot. I love the Mets. If you like daddies, hit me up." The post actually included 2 photos of the boy on candid camera, one in a grocery store and one outside in a seemingly wooded area. The boy looked to be no older than 14. The ad was taken down the same day it was posted. This screenshot was captured by Raymond Young. This ad was posted in January of 2014 in Australia during a major heat wave. Temperatures were reaching up to 114 degrees Fahrenheit in certain regions, so this ad probably seems like nothing but a miracle at first glance. The ad offered free ice cream to anyone in the area, claiming they were doing it out of Christian courtesy. The ice cream truck would be parked in a location that would only be disclosed to people who contacted the poster. One person did end up contacting the poster of the ad, and was told to meet at a certain parking lot outside of Kings Park. The boy and his brother who answered the ad, who said they arrived partially just to see if it was legit or not, did find the ice cream truck in the parking lot, but 2 police cars were also parked alongside it. It turned out the ice cream truck was stolen. The refrigerators in the ice cream truck were turned off, and all the ice cream was melted. So who knows what they really meant by Christian hospitality. This one isn't really disturbing in any way, but it's just the definition of creepy. This was an ad posted by a 26-year-old asking for a female roommate, whom he would waive the rent fee for, only if they were willing to create some kind of relationship out of it. And being that this was a guy posting on Craigslist, proud of his openness of his intentions, it's likely he may have wanted more than just a relationship, but also maybe some immediate services. In fact, there's actually a bunch of these desperate, creepy posts offering free housing for young ladies, asking for a relationship, or open mind in return. In July of 2015, the FBI arrested 39-year-old Nathan Bryan for allegedly trying to solicit children for sex by advertising his babysitting services on Craigslist. Federal investigators suspected that Bryan was using these ads to gain access to kids, though this wasn't enough to prove that he was guilty of anything. So the FBI posed as a father who was offering their child for sex on Craigslist, and that's when they were contacted by Bryan, warranting his arrest. This was one of Bryan's many Craigslist postings where he advertised his babysitting services. It may not seem too devious on its own, but knowing who was behind this listing is what makes it truly horrifying, and that any other listing like this one could have been created by someone with completely masked intentions. This is Richard Beasley, a man who's been sentenced to death for the murder of 3 men who responded to an ad he placed on Craigslist for a non-existent job. He was also convicted of the attempted murder of Scott Davis, a man who answered the Craigslist ad who was then shot in the arm while escaping from Beasley. This is the only screenshot that could be found for this specific ad that Richard posted. The ad said, "Wanted, caretaker for farm. Simply watch over a 700-acre patch of hilly farmland and feed a few cows. You get $300 a week and a nice 2-bedroom trailer. Someone older and single preferred, but will consider all. Relocation is a must. You must have a clean record and be trustworthy. This is a permanent position. The farm is used mainly as a hunting preserve, is overrun with game, has a stocked 3-acre pond, but some beef cattle will be kept. Nearest neighbor is a mile away. The place is secluded and beautiful. It will be a real getaway for the right person. This is a job of a lifetime. If you are ready to relocate, please contact ASAP. Position will not stay open." 3 out of the 4 men who answered this ad were shot dead by Richard. This is another missed connections post seeking a younger, unknowing individual. This one is much more disturbing, however, as the poster, or stalker rather, has the young girl's address. He even posted a picture of the 14-year-old girl's house. In the post, he wrote, "Dear Sarah, you don't know me yet, but I've been watching you these past 2 weeks. You are a beautiful young girl who needs to be taught certain things, and I can teach you those things. I could give you all the money you could want and much more. I can promise you nothing but an amazing life if you choose to run away with me." The rest is just both his and her personal info. Now this ad was screenshotted by a few people before it was flagged enough times to be removed. I couldn't find any more details, such as if the family was made aware of this, if the man who posted the ad was found, or even if it was just some kind of prank. This ad was posted on June 10th, 2014, under the free stuff section. It advertised a free couch in good condition that would be put out on the curb at around 10 o'clock at night. In a normal neighborhood, this would seem like a lucky find. However, this ad was posted in one of the worst areas in Detroit, and one of the most dangerous times to be wandering the streets. Not to mention that anyone living in the area that this ad was posted in would not be looking to give a couch away. They would be looking to earn every penny possible off of it. This was simply a screenshot of the ad taken by someone who came across it. There's really no way of knowing if someone actually fell victim to this, but this ad just had too many red flags about it, and for that reason it was an obvious trap. Most likely a gang or some kind of group of people were waiting for a naive victim to rob, or do who knows what with.
Be very careful, okay? Detroit is one of the most dangerous cities in the world. In fact, the most dangerous city in the world. If you're underage and, unprotected, and if you walk away from your parents, I would not recommend doing that because it is one of the most dangerous cities in the world. As he just said, it is one of the most dangerous cities in the world. It's not friendly at all. So, if you're underage, don't even think. about walking away from your parents, or else it'll end up in serious issues. Yeah. So I'm gonna continue on with this ad, alright? Because I'm not serious, okay? I'm never serious, but still be careful if you're going to Detroit. Okay, let's continue.
This Craigslist post was the alleged confession of a murderer who was gloating about his first killing to the people of Tulsa, Oklahoma on Craigslist. It said, "I was wanting to thank Tulsa for letting me have my first kill. It all started here, so I was thinking it should also be my first. I was nervous as hell, but I will get over it. It was a stranger on stranger, so the police will have a difficult time. It will not be my last, though. Thinking about going to Oklahoma City for the next." Now, this wasn't the only ad of its kind to pop up. In fact, there was a second one that police did not release a screenshot for, which allegedly shows a picture of the dead victim's body and the poster gloating over his second killing. This one allegedly took place in Stillwater, Oklahoma, and while it doesn't exactly mention an actual link to the first post, it seems like just too much of a coincidence. Tulsa police are still looking into this to see if this was just some kind of sick prank, or if there really is a new Craigslist killer in the making. This is a rather strange ad posted by a young man looking for a roommate. When visitors to the ad would be greeted by this picture of what looks like something taken from a horror movie, they likely would not take this ad very seriously and would never dream of taking this guy up on his offer. Now, if that introduction picture isn't enough to creep somebody out, some of the rules and aggressive writing underneath should do it. Some ground rules. If I ring the bell in the kitchen, it means you have to go to bed no matter what time it is. I do not like people staying up late. You may have a friend over, but if they speak too much, they must leave. I like peace and quiet. No Indian visitors. See that shower curtain? Never touch it. If it's closed, you come get me and I pull it back so you can shower. There's two other pictures, one of a dimly lit room and one with a garbage bag over a window. Now, was this just a prank? Maybe, or maybe not. If it wasn't, let's just hope this guy didn't find a roommate. This last ad was very open about its poster's intentions, entitled "Cannibal Looking for Willing Victim." This ad included blurred images of dead corpses that were very obviously being cooked and eaten. The ad said, "I'm going to be very open about my intentions. I am a cannibal, and I'm looking for a willing victim." He even uses the word victim. If you have by any chance been looking to end your life for any reason, or if it has been your dream to donate your body as food, please contact me as soon as possible. I will not be torturing you or providing you with a slow death. Think of this as a suicide that will be benefiting somebody else. Well, that has completely destroyed my faith in humanity once again. I think I'm gonna go watch cat videos now.
Almost immediately after Google Maps was made live in 2005, users started noticing something strange: censored locations all across the globe. Supposedly, this is for security reasons, like protecting places against terror attacks. But is that really all there is to it?
Alright, so after this video is done, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna end that because this is going on for a very long time.
So what's the plan? War.
Times they are changing.
We need you to fight them to show them who we are.
Oh Lord, my Lord and Savior, please deliver me.
Imagine going about your day in the comfort of your own home when you find out there's an extra room to your house that you've never been in. A room purposely hidden from sight that may contain strange objects or unwanted guests. Number 8. An Imager user was walking around his house when he noticed a window for a room that he didn't know existed. He had a look through the window and saw this. He went inside to the only wall that was facing that room. Upon closer inspection, he found that this piece of the wall panel had been cut. What they found inside seems like a lot of junk. The most noteworthy things found was some kind of gargoyle statue a box full of Star Wars cards, and a locked safe of which the uploader never updated on. Number 7. Another Imager user by the name of 2ByteBrownie has posted a few pictures of a secret room in his house. While horsing around with his brother in their parents' room, the younger brother was pushed by 2ByteBrownie into what was assumed to be a built-in bookshelf. It opened, revealing a hidden room and evidence of a potential inhabitant. Moving on, as if the secret room reached by a black spiral staircase wasn't creepy enough, there was supposed evidence that someone was down there, but the siblings found a crawl space halfway down and saw this. 2ByteBrownie wrote, "Someone was living in our walls. That's my Halloween candy that someone came in my room, took from my bag, and then brought back in here." About 30 seconds after taking this picture, we realized what it meant and got out of there. The fresh-looking banana peel suggests that someone had recently been down there, or perhaps it was a setup. 2ByteBrownie wrote in response to this that he had been eating it when they walked down to the room. Seeing the blankets in a dimly lit space, he said he tossed the banana at it. So is this a hoax, or has somebody secretly been living in this home? Number 6. Tony Smith had just bought his first house. Whenever entering the basement, he would hear strange noises coming from in the walls. Strange noises like screaming, laughing, or moans of pain. The sounds came from beyond the part of the wall where no rooms were. "I assumed it was some kind of animal," Tony stated. One late night, Tony awoke to metallic banging sounds coming from his yard. He took a peek out his window and saw some kind of metallic door open from the grass as a shadowy figure emerged and ran down his driveway out of sight. He got a closer look at it in the daylight. It was some kind of hatched door disguised to blend in with the grass. Tony never went down there. He just sealed the thing shut before whoever was in there could come back. Number 5. A group of shocked Ohio students discovered the ghost haunting their house was actually a random stranger living in a secret room in their basement. The students had been spooked by strange noises in the night and mysterious happenings like coming home to find cupboard and oven doors open. Upon entering the room, they found that a man named Jeremy had been living there for weeks. He has since been evicted, and the students have had the locks changed. Number 4. In 2005, Jason and Carrie had just bought a house and were about to begin renovations when they found a secret corridor hidden behind a bookcase. What would it hold? Torture equipment? Treasures? Well, the first thing they found was a note from the previous owner saying simply, "You found it." The rest of the note said, "I owned this place for a short while, and it was discovered to have a serious mold problem. One that actually made my children very sick to the point that we had to move out." The house was contaminated with black mold. When the previous owner lived there, one of the children he mentioned in the note had gotten so sick that she was unable to hold any nutrition and sometimes couldn't breathe. The Browns proceeded to cancel their move-in plans and sue the broker who sold them the house. Number 3. A Reddit user found a hidden room in the attic of their house in Norway. Some of what they found inside, a sign which roughly translates from Norwegian as, "If you have a bad stomach, then you don't have access." There was also a lamp alarm to most likely warn when someone entered the attic, a map of West Europe, and a doll's shoe. This secret room was most likely a hiding place for Jews from the Nazis, and the lamp alarm was likely a silent way of warning of a Nazi's presence in the attic. Number 2. I featured this one in a previous video, however, a larger description has been revealed. Reddit user Lumberjack has claimed to have found a secret crawl space with a safe containing some treasures, along with some disturbing findings. Some of the treasures include a pile of envelopes with paper money of various countries and origins, along with a jewelry box with watches, tie clips, a key, rings, and a lot of gold and silver. The discovery that is downright creepy features the tapes contained in the safe, one with the words "No, no, no, no" scribbled all over it. Along with the tapes is a note that reads, "Save yourself." He turned the tapes into the police, and their contents are still a mystery. Number 1. A student living in New Mexico was living in a single-floor house bought by his father for him. He reported hearing a strange banging coming from below the floor during one night on his first week. A few nights later, he he found a door on the floor in his pantry closet. It led to a mysterious-looking room with the light on, along with a fan blowing. There seemed to be a desk with a few gadgets and a few cabinets. The design of the room was completely off from the rest of the house. However, the creepiest thing was the cigarette found on the desk that had seemingly just been recently put out. There weren't any real clues as to who was down there or what was going on.
I said I was gonna end the video with something really, really good. Really extremely good, dude. Really good.
You can feel comfort in storing your private belongings inside lockers and other storage devices. However, sometimes the private belongings found inside these storage devices are rather strange and disturbing. Number 10. The only time it's acceptable to keep around a headless doll is the 5 minutes between the dog ripping the head off and you discovering it. When someone stores a headless doll among knives, it's most likely a problem. Robert Dewey Hoskins, who was rearrested after escaping from a mental hospital in February of 2012, was convicted of threatening to murder Madonna, and that headless baby doll was found in his storage unit in Long Beach. LA Weekly reports on the 10 creepiest items found in the Madonna stalker's storage unit. Besides the headless baby doll and dozens of knives, Hoskins kept a very scary clown mask, a sumo wrestler baby doll, a Barbie backpack, and so much more. Number 9. A married couple with 2 kids made a horrific discovery when the mother, Mrs. Copeland, found a safe in her 10-year-old son's room. When questioned about where he got it and its contents, he simply pleaded the fifth. Both parents were unable to get any info out of their son. Eventually, Mr. Copeland was able to pry the safe open and was shocked at what he found inside. The head of their dog that had recently passed and was buried in their yard was stuffed into the safe. Blood poured out of the box as Mr. Copeland screamed in horror. Their son said he loved that dog so much that he wanted to have a part of her forever, so he dug up the body, cut off its head with a tiny kitchen knife, and stuffed it in the safe that was found by the mother later on that same day. Number 8. Some people like to take their work home with them, but Dr. Michael Birkland, a former medical examiner, took his work to his storage unit in Pensacola. And when I say work, I'm talking about body parts for more than 100 people. All this creepiness was discovered in August 2012 when some poor soul bought the contents of Dr. Birkland's unit at a storage auction. It seems that Dr. Birkland's hobby included the storing of 10 brains as well as other body parts like lungs, hearts, and tissue samples. Dr. Birkland was thrifty as well as creepy, keeping a heart stored in a styrofoam cup. Police noted that formaldehyde was leaking from the cracked lid. The body parts, which were harvested during private autopsies performed inside funeral homes in Florida, were also found inside Tupperware containers, trash bags, and specimen cups. Interestingly, Dr. Birkland was fired from his job as a medical examiner in 2003 for failing to complete autopsy reports in a timely manner and for keeping a big backlog of cases. Number 7. Unit B8 in U-Store Self-Storage in Clearwater, Florida, held something that couldn't be auctioned off when the family fell behind on payments in January of 2012. When the storage facility manager told the family that the contents were going to be sold, the truth came out. Among the banana boxes and old TVs rested the grandma's skeletal remains. Authorities identified the grandma as Anne Bunch, born on January 1st, 1900. Since the woman's death in 1995, her remains had been stored inside a painted blue coffin in a storage unit that wasn't air-conditioned. For 17 years, her remains rested inside a warm storage unit. The body had been properly prepared for burial by a funeral home in Alabama, which explains the lack of odor. Number 6. A lot of people refuse to go to public pools, and maybe this will be one more reason. An elderly man named Jacob Pastor, who swam at a public pool in Colorado, used the same locker in the changing room every time he visited.
A lot of the lockers went unused, as most people didn't even need to use them, and it wasn't a very crowded pool to begin with. One unfortunate day, however, perhaps he had tired himself out a little too much.
Everybody say Colorado. I'm a giraffe.
And opened the wrong locker, the one right next to his usual one. The skeletal remains of a human fell out from the locker, almost as if it were tackling him to the ground. By the looks of it, the body that once was had been in there for years, as it was fully decomposed. It looked as though somebody had been forcefully jammed in there, or perhaps they simply got stuck in there themselves. That mystery will remain unsolved. Number 5. Imager user Oldswagon is a reformed thief who earns money on the side by unlocking safes for people, but little did he know that this job could lead to him helping solve a vile crime. The landlord contacted the lockmaster to help him bust into a safe that one of his tenants had left behind, but neither of them were prepared for what was lurking inside. Once Oldswagon had disabled the lock by hot wiring it, the safe swung open and revealed that things would have gone very differently if he had used an acetylene torch to bust through the door, because inside, as pictured, they found a live grenade. Unfortunately, the live grenade was one of the more innocent items concealed within the safe's near impenetrable metal walls. The SD cards pictured were all filled with child pornography, and the journal was so depraved